Hello, BookTube. Several people have pointed out that I did not do a Wednesday comics video this time around. The reason was very simple. As I mentioned on this channel, every time I've done a Wednesday comics installment, I don't buy single issue ongoing comics anymore. I buy collections, omnibuses, reprint editions, that sort of thing. Things that, like that, are usually in healthy supply in comic shops. I still like going to my comic shop, so I tend to get that when I go. And I always, because my local comic shop is not local and is not convenient for me to get to anymore, I always look online ahead of time at the list to see what's coming out that week. And if it's something I think my comic shop will get, then I go. If it's something I know they won't get, but then they might be willing to order for me, then I'll ask them to order for me. But if there's nothing, then I don't go. And there wasn't anything this week, not even close. So, despite the fact that this week had Superman #1, the comic book, if I read it at all, it will be the trade paperback in 6 months' time. And at my own comic shop, it would have been a bittersweet visit anyway, because a couple of people from that comic shop aren't there today. They aren't there this week. They aren't there this weekend. And you know why, BookTube? Because this is yet again another instance, another year in which the San Diego Comic-Con is happening without Steve. For years, I've asked bookstores, newspapers, wherever, anybody that had a budget to send me to San Diego Comic-Con. Those of you who don't live in America or maybe don't know, the San Diego Comic-Con is it's ground zero. It's Nirvana for nerds. it's where tons and tons of creators from comics and novels and movies and TV all gather together with thousands and thousands of fans over a long weekend to just have one gigantic collective geek out. I've always, in a way, wanted to go. I've experienced some conventions in my life, and they are always disappointing. They're never as much fun as you think they will be, unless you went maybe with a big crowd of friends. And I don't foresee that. I don't think I can do that. But I miss San Diego. I used to be there quite often. I used to live in Southern California. And I'm also, of course, the person at the window looking in, like all the rest of us, everybody who's not at San Diego Comic-Con, is wondering what sorts of things are going to premiere there, what sorts of things are going to be shown to the public for the first time there. And there are leaks, because we live in the internet age, there are always leaks, and there'll be screenings there, and there'll be creators who will dish inside information and all that sort of thing. But I think one of the things that San Diego Comic-Con will be buzzing about most, at least initially, will be the teaser trailer for the new TV series Titans, which is seeping around the internet. You can easily see it now. It's in all the news outlets. And it is, it's different than what I thought. It's very dark. It's very violent. And those of you who don't know, Titans is sort of a fourth or fifth generation iteration of an idea where younger DC comic superheroes, the home of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, band together. And the leader of the Titans, in virtually every incarnation that it's ever had for the last 50 years, has been Robin. Dick Grayson, Robin, the Boy Wonder, Batman's sidekick. And in the teaser trailer that was released for Titans, the ongoing TV show, it's Robin who gets the standout line. He gets the thing that will be talked about at San Diego Comic-Con, at least until it gets bumped by bigger things. In the teaser trailer, Robin cusses. he issues what is known in polite parlance as an F-bomb, and he doesn't just do it at random. He does it in connection with the name of his sacred mentor, Batman. He, in the trailer, says F Batman, which is not something that even the Joker has had the nerve to do over the years. Robin is played by Brenton Thwaites, who must consider it a big step in his career. He's had lots of movie roles, but maybe he's a comic book fan, or maybe he just wanted series work. One way or another, he's a six-pack-a-day tobacco addict who's, I think, in his 20s, and of course, looks and moves like he was in his 50s because of that, because he has first-stage lung cancer. And he is a grown-up, grimmer, battle-armored Robin in this show. And there are a couple of other characters. There's Beast Boy, a green young man who can transform into any kind of animal. There's Raven, a goth-type, pale-skinned, dark-clothed empath with all sorts of quasi-mystical powers. There's Starfire, who is bound to create tidal waves of outrage among the alt-right comic book fans and among the many, many YouTube creators of what is now known as Comicsgate, because she's a marked visual departure from the character and is also African-American. The actress is African-American. I think it's going to lead to a whole bunch of howls of outrage. But the original, the character that she plays is called Starfire. Starfire is an alien who comes to Earth and has orange skin. So if fanboys, if the worst kind of reactionary fanboy protests against her casting, they will put themselves in the ridiculous position of saying, why couldn't you find someone with orange skin to play this character? I don't know one way or another. But the fact that Robin says, F Batman, has made this thing instantly viral in the fan community. And will probably give the Titans TV show more prominence at San Diego Comic-Con than it would otherwise have had, at least, again, until the bigger items knock it out. Shazam, Aquaman, that sort of thing. And it got me thinking of what a tangled mess the Titans are in DC continuity if you're just looking at the comic books. Once again, because DC has revamped itself so many times, a new reader won't have the slightest idea what's going on. They won't even begin to piece it all together, and they won't know where to start, because DC Comics was going along just fine. They were writing comics the way I like to read comics, where nothing earth-shaking ever happens. No one loses a hand, no one loses an eye, no one has a baby, nothing like that, where it's just Superman fights an extremely fiendishly clever alien, or Lex Luthor aiding some bank robbers. Batman fights some gangsters, or one of his many, rogues gallery. The Flash, Atom, Hawkman, they all have adventures every month. It used to be a very rare thing that anyone would ever team up with the other. And you were in and out, one and done. You got a comic book, you got a great story, a couple of really nifty moments, and it was done. There was never any continuity-wide events. There was never any intrusion of real life into these things. No one was maimed or any of the stuff that's very popular in modern comics. None of that happened. And DC Comics went on like that for decades. That was what comics were. You tuned in to Action Comics to see what adventure Superman was going to have this month. And there was always a twist, and some of them were better than others, and the issues were really good, and they piled up in the attic, and you just kept buying them because it was in your hectic, otherwise preoccupied life, it was a perfect escape. That's just what it was. That's just what it was meant to be. And after a long time of that, and that was slowly complicating because DC decided to revive some of its older characters, which automatically had fans wondering, okay, why does Green Lantern, this new Green Lantern, not seem anything like the old Green Lantern? Why does the new Flash seem nothing like the old Flash? Which required introducing a parallel Earth, an alternate dimension Earth. And if you do that once, you're going to do that a few more times. And eventually DC decided, this is all too complicated. We need to simplify this by making an event that wipes it all out and restarts the clock. And it didn't simplify things. Instead, it made things much more complicated, much more confusing. And that revamp lasted for 10 or 15 years, and then DC decided to do it again, to revamp the revamp. And now that happens almost every year. So a newcomer, or perhaps somebody who read comics a long time ago and now is trying to get back into it, is going to say, well, I remember the Teen Titans, a band of teenage superheroes. Why don't I check in on them now? Oh my God. they'll run screaming from the comic shop, because there are two Teen Titans teams. One is teenage superheroes, the other is just called Titans. They drop teen because they're the adult versions of the original Teen Titans. The original Teen Titans were introduced in 1964 and by Bob Haney, who I've mentioned him on this channel before. He was a really hard-boiled Batman writer for a long, long time, and it was his idea to take the teenage sidekicks of some of DC's emblematic heroes and band them together as a team. It was an inspired idea. So it was Robin, the Boy Wonder. It was Aqualad, the ward of Aquaman, and it was Kid Flash, the teen sidekick of the Flash. They got together in their first appearance in 1964, fought a ridiculous villain who could control the weather, and the idea took off. Fans liked it, and the Teen Titans then got their own book, and they added a fourth member, Wonder Girl, the teenage sidekick or colleague or whatever from Paradise Island of Wonder Woman, and it was those four for a while, and then they started to add on more cast members, including Speedy, the teenage sidekick of Green Arrow, and it worked even better when they had their own book, and the writers started to get the feel of things, and also upgraded his artist to a great artist named Nick Cardy. It started to work much better, especially since, in addition to the initial appeal of the gimmick, what if all the teen sidekicks teamed up together? In addition to that initial appeal, the writers started introducing personalities. It started to be that you would go to Teen Titans in order to find out what Robin or Aqualad were really like, because you would never find out that in their mentors' books. And that was the key to success. That turned out to be the key to success of almost every incarnation of the Teen Titans, was that you go for the chance to see these teen sidekicks in action without their mentors, but you stay because of the interreactions, the relationships between them. That was especially emphasized once Speedy was made as kind of a trash-talking rogue, and once he was added to the mix, that was emphasized. And also, I hate to say it because I love the character, but once Aqualad started appearing less often in the issues, the writers never really knew what to do with him. And the inclusion of any hero who is water-based really limits your stories. After a while, it really limits your stories. There are only so many coastal crimes or lakes or sea monsters that you can do before you're just wondering what this guy's doing here, especially if, as in early incarnations of both Aquaman and Aqualad, they'll die if they're not in water regularly. It's not like for instance, Marvel's version, the Submariner, is a hybrid who can live outside of water almost indefinitely. He gets weaker, but he won't die. whereas Aquaman and Aqualad, it became a hindrance on writing, and so Aqualad, once he was mostly gone and once Speedy was mostly there, the stories are in those original issues are wonderful and a little bit groundbreaking. The Justice League famously has no leader, and the Justice League was the sort of the template for super teams at the time that the Teen Titans were introduced. Whereas the Teen Titans very much do have a leader, and it's Robin, who has no superpowers. He's not an expert marksman. We assume that Speedy is a better marksman with a bow and arrow than he is. He can't breathe underwater like Aqualad or command sea creatures or corral them or whatever. He can't run at super speed. And most of all, for me, when I was reading these things originally, the most interesting thing about the teen dynamic of the original Teen Titans, those four characters and Speedy, is that by far the most powerful character on the team was the only girl. And when there's a wonderful little moment in Teen Titans #1, we watch these characters leave their mentors and come to gather together and be a team. And when Wonder Girl is flying away from Paradise Island, where she's being seen off by Wonder Woman and Queen Hippolyta, Wonder Woman's mother, and Wonder Woman actually says to her, just be careful, dear. Even though you have superpowers, you'll still be a girl on a team of boys. And Wonder Girl says, quit nagging me. Anything a boy can do, I can do better. And in this case, it's literally true. She's almost as fast as Speedy. She's well acquainted with ancient weapons, so she knows archery. And she's super strong. She can fly. she has the bullets and bracelets thing. She's the only powerhouse on the team, because this is a time before the so-called Speed Force was introduced. Kid Flash at this time was just a kid who could run really fast. He couldn't run at the speed of light. He couldn't enter into a singularity or contact a mystical dimension called the Speed Force or anything like that. He could just run really fast. So the team was dominated by Wonder Girl, who was the most powerful member. But it was the personalities that did it, and that just got better and better. This is what I'm talking about. Look at the size of this thing. This is the Silver Age Teen Titans, and there are our 4 heroes. With Wonder Girl very, very rightly getting prominent place there on this newly commissioned cover. And the personalities really won the thing, and they kept the thing going for a long time, for years and years. Fans loved it, and it was topical. The Peace Corps, President Kennedy, rock and roll, all that sort of stuff was all worked in, and it was done really well. And then it was inevitable. These things have a lifespan. Eventually, the thing started being not so good, and was canceled and then brought back once, and that was the revival. A few years later was not particularly good. Didn't last very long, and then came the 1980s, the halcyon 1980s, those glory days, when DC revived the Teen Titans. Marv Wolfman did the writing, fantastic writer, a heck of a guy. And George Perez, one of the greatest comic book artists of the 20th century, did the artwork for a new team of Teen Titans. Robin was still the leader. There was still Wonder Girl. There was still Kid Flash. But there were a whole bunch of new characters, too. There was Cyborg, a young man who's half machine. There was Starfire, who we mentioned, an alien who comes to Earth and decides to stay. There was Beast Boy, back from... and now he's part of the team. He tried to join the team originally, and it didn't work out. He was too young. But in this, he has a new name, Changeling, and he is part of the team. And Raven, the dark empath that I talked about. These characters were all introduced for this new Titans thing. Marv Wolfman took the big chance of giving you a core of old traditional Teen Titans and introducing a whole bunch of new characters. And that is a chance, because comic book fans are inherently conservative. They like what they like, and they like what they have liked in the past. So you show them a team that says Teen Titans, but that is more than 50% characters they've never seen before. You run the risk that they'll say, I don't know who this is. This is dumb. Bring back the Teen Titans. And that didn't happen. Instead, fans went crazy. And you could see, when you read those original issues, you can see why fans went crazy. Because, just like the original, this was an emphasis on character, on interaction. We see these characters liking each other, disliking each other, bickering with each other, not trusting each other, coming to trust each other. And for issue after issue after issue, aided, of course, by George Perez's incredible artwork, for issue after issue after issue, it works like a charm. And so when that happens, I mean, the same thing happened at the same time over in Marvel Comics with the X-Men, where Chris Claremont decided, I'm gonna bring back the team, and once again, I'm going to have a tiny core of traditional characters, but I'm going to mostly add new characters. That also worked, and the lightning struck in both companies about the same time. Fan favorites selling huge numbers of issues every month, and that is a boon. Of course, it's a blessing. It gives you a golden age of these titles, but it also creates a problem afterwards, because, like I said, these things have life cycles, and when they start to die, when fans start to wander away to something new, and you cancel these things or you revamp them, later creators come along 5-10 years later, and they think, well, we want that magic back. Maybe we should just do the same thing again. It never works, but they do it anyway because risks are dangerous. Taking a chance like that takes a lot of courage. 2 different creators did it on 2 different moribund titles at around the same time in 2 different companies in the 80s, and it worked like a charm in both cases, but it usually doesn't work, so I kind of understand. And in the years since then, 2 big things have happened in the Titans universe. One was unexpected, and one was expected. The expected thing was that the title started to fritter and cannibalize itself, and eventually, over time, became the idea arose. We need a teen Titans. We need a team of sidekicks and teenagers, but we also want to bring back our original Titans, who are now not teenagers anymore. So we'll call them just Titans. The problem with Titans as an incarnation of a team is that it's just any team. The idea of the Teen Titans, the premise, the killer premise at the beginning was these are teenage sidekicks who don't get to shine when they're in the shadow of their mentors. Here they get to do things on their own. They get to be youth empowered. That works. that is the grist for the character interaction that you're then going to get between them. If you just make them a team of adults called the Titans, then it's just another super team. With where some characters have closer connection than other characters to other characters in other books, but not teacher-student, not striking out for independence, not anything like that. And also you've got these two teams, both called Titans. That's inherently confusing. DC, I might point out, would not have had this problem if they hadn't got on the Marvel train of having real things happen in real time. Otherwise, if DC hadn't done that, the Teen Titans would still be teenagers. The original team, maybe with new members, would still be teens. They'd still be having adventures. They'd still be, the wards and the adoptees of their mentors, and nothing would ever have changed. There would be no death of Superman. There would be no powerless Wonder Woman. There would be no Aquaman with a hook for a hand. There would be no Batman with his back broken. There wouldn't be anything like that. Nothing at all. Instead, it would be just the ongoing fun of DC Comics. But no, they don't listen to me. But that was one thing, was that the comics started to fritter away and become complicated. You have Teen Titans and you have Titans. That was one thing. And the other thing that happened in the Titans universe was unexpected. And that was that there was a cartoon, Teen Titans Go. There was a cartoon of the Teen Titans, and it was done in full manga, anime style, oversized, bubbly heads, cartoonish expressions, all that sort of stuff. The action sequences were mostly indebted to manga. It was like the original Teen Titans, and like the revamp with mostly new characters, it was a huge gamble. It was a different way to do a superhero cartoon. It wasn't conservative. It wasn't doting. It wasn't an homage to real-life comics. Instead, it was something new, funnier, weirder, and with a distinct visual style that wasn't like, for instance, the classic Bruce Timm Batman cartoon, which had stylistic daring of its own, but nothing along the lines of Teen Titans. And the surprising thing is that the cartoon became an enormous hit. Everybody loved it. It is fantastic viewing. Just fantastic. I'm the most conservative comic fan in the world. That's why the first episode of the cartoon Justice League pleased me so much. I watched the first few episodes of Teen Titans and thought, what on earth? Does anything count anymore? What are these? Why don't they look human? And then I fell under its spell. I just loved it. And the awkward thing for DC Comics is that the Teen Titans cartoon is about to have a movie. Teen Titans Go to the movies that looks hilarious. It looks exactly like the humor and off-the-wall sensibilities of the cartoon brought to the big screen. And that's coming out at about the same time as Titans premieres on TV, with a trash-talking, expletive-dropping Robin and a whole bunch of leg-slashing, armor-wearing adult versions of these superheroes. So once again, DC Comics is going to reproduce, in the real world, the confusion, the branding confusion, if you would, that is part of the Titans franchise now, in the comic books. Because fans that don't really follow these things are going to look at the Teen Titans in the movie theaters. I guarantee you, if you go to see Teen Titans Go to the movies, you're going to love it. You're going to laugh your head off. I guarantee it. But fans who go to see that and then they go, I really like this Teen Titans Go to the movies movie. I went with my grandfather. I went with my children. We all laughed our heads off. I really like that. So I see that Titans have a TV show coming up. I guess I'll watch that. And you do that. You're sending the kids out of the room in the first 5 minutes. And you might leave soon after. So DC Comics is once again not doing itself any favors with this great property. The Teen Titans is a great property. It's a great idea. Bring a whole bunch of teenagers together who don't want adults nagging them, who want to do good and figure out life without being told what to do by Batman or Aquaman or whatever. And we'll see how it all shakes out. I have a feeling that the Teen Titans TV show won't do well. And that's a shame, because I really like the fact that they're concentrating on Brendan Thwaites, who's got a real on-screen charisma. His only problem on screen is that he tends to be too buttoned up. When a director actually says to him, you can go nuts. In this scene, you can go nuts. then you see it. You see something. You see the reason why this kid keeps getting work, aside from the fact that he's gorgeous. But you don't see it at all. He was in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. You don't see it at all. He's buttoned down the whole time. It shows up a couple of moments in Gods of Egypt, where he's the human love boy in Gods of Egypt, and it shows up a couple of times there. He's in a movie on Netflix now called The Frequency that is mostly a snooze fest. It's mostly very somnolent. But there are a couple of scenes where the director obviously told him, in this scene you must be very angry, and it works. It works like crazy, and he does a very charismatic job in the adaptation of The Giver, of Lois Lowry's The Giver, and it's great that DC is giving him such a prominent role in this TV show, almost to the point where I kind of wish that it were just him, that it were just called Robin, and maybe you could have Teen Titans here and there, a team show that is such a radical departure from the original that all the fans know, and that has re-envisionings of characters. So you've got a Black Starfire, you've got Robin saying F Batman. You're going to need the fans to make this series work, and I don't know that they'll go for it. We'll see. But one way or another, because I'm not at San Diego Comic-Con, yet again, another year where Frida and I are not at the con, and because Teen Titans is all over the news, it's all viral, all the comic book websites and video channels are all about this teaser trailer and what it means for the show. That's going to be my comic installment for the week, this little tutorial on the Teen Titans. I strongly advise. I got this thing new, so it was $80 million. Since I got this, I'm pretty sure that it has been fractured into a few paperback versions. That'll be they'll be the omnibus editions, but they won't be this big hardcover thing. Those of you who maybe haven't read these original issues, I strongly advise it. They're wonderful. Rereading them was a charm when I got this original book, and I keep thinking maybe I should get the paperbacks, because I admit the size and heft of this thing often disinclines me from taking it down to reread it. But one way or another, I don't currently read either Teen Titans or Titans, either one of the books. I will watch the show and see what it's all about, and I will of course watch the movie because I know already the movie will be enjoyable. But even so, the fact that there are two completely polar opposite manifestations of the same intellectual property at the same time from DC Comics, I don't want to overdiagnose, but I think the fact that happened is another example of DC not really getting the whole live-action cartoon, the whole non-comic book iteration of its characters in the way that, for instance, the cinematic Marvel Universe does so well. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Certainly the TV DC Universe is doing just fine without my complaints. So one way or another, I'm going to wrap this up. This is just a Teen Titans wrap, man. And maybe there'll be something at my comic shop next week that I can talk about actually on a Wednesday. We shall see. But anyway, I'll wrap all this wool gathering up for now, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.